An unusual stillness filled the kitchen that Saturday morning, broken only by the steady rhythmic drumming of small fingers on the scarred wooden table. Chloe, who had just turned 5, was glaring at the clock on the wall with a focus that would amuse any adult. Her blue eyes were fixed on the second hand, trying to push it forward with the force of her will alone. Beside her, a pyramid of lemons awaited, arranged by size with a surprising meticulousness for a child so young. The shy early morning sun filtered through the kitchen window, making the citrus fruit shine like a collection of tiny treasures. Zoe, her twin, was hunched over the table, her crayons flying across a piece of cardboard she'd salvaged from behind the refrigerator. Her small hands worked with a frantic energy, spreading vibrant colors across the makeshift canvas. Every so often, she'd puff away a rebellious strand of brown hair that insisted on falling across her eyes. A harsh cough echoed from down the hallway, causing both girls to freeze in place. It was a sound they had come to dread in recent weeks, deep, ragged, and painful. Chloe instinctively squeezed the lemon in her hand so hard her knuckles turned white. Zoe dropped her red crayon, which skittered to the edge of the table. "Mommy needs the expensive cough syrup," Zoe whispered, shattering the tense silence that had followed the cough. She pushed her chair back, the wooden legs screeching against the ceramic floor and destroying the morning's quiet. Chloe watched her sister drag a chair toward the tall cabinet, the one they were both forbidden to climb. "You can't climb up there," she warned, her voice low but firm. "You'll fall." "No, I won't." Zoe was already positioning the kitchen chair in front of the cabinet. "I just want to see how much is left in the syrup bottle." Ashley appeared in the kitchen doorway moments later, as if summoned by her daughter's silent anxiety. Her face was pale, with faint pink blotches on her cheeks that betrayed the fever she was trying to hide. Her brown hair, once always pulled back into a neat ponytail, now cascaded messily over the shoulders of a faded blue robe. "My little early birds," she said, forcing a smile, her voice raspy from the effort to sound normal. "What are you two up to so early?" Zoe hopped down from the chair with practiced agility, hiding her hands behind her back as if that could somehow erase her attempt to scale the cabinet. "Nothing, Mommy. We were just organizing the lemons," Chloe finished for her, gesturing to the perfectly aligned fruit on the table. Ashley walked toward them slowly, bracing herself with one hand on the wall for support. Chloe, ever the observer, noted the slight tremble in her mother's fingers against the peeling wallpaper. She also saw the deep, dark circles under her eyes, darker than they were yesterday, and how much effort it now took for her to maintain a smile. "And why are we organizing lemons so early on a Saturday?" Ashley asked, pulling out a chair. The simple movement left her breathless for a moment. Zoe seized the opening, always the first to speak, when a new idea struck. "We want to make lemonade!" She practically bounced with excitement. Chloe already sorted the lemons. "Look how pretty they are." Indeed, Chloe had arranged 12 lemons in 3 perfect rows. Next to them, a collection of colorful plastic cups from last Christmas stood in equally precise formation. A small notebook, its shaky handwriting partially obscured by a dish towel, was tucked away. Ashley reached for the notebook, but Zoe was quicker, snatching it and hiding it behind her back. "It's a surprise," she declared, her grin revealing the gap from a recently lost baby tooth. Inside that notebook were their secret plans. A pharmacy flyer advertising the costly cough syrup their mother needed, the price circled in red ink, a seemingly insurmountable mountain for their meager savings. "All right," Ashley relented, settling carefully into her chair, a movement Chloe noted with a fresh wave of concern. "I'll teach you Grandma's special recipe." The twins' eyes widened with a mix of shock and delight. Grandma's recipe was a family legend, a secret passed down through generations that Ashley had always said she would only teach them when they were big enough. But Chloe hesitated, her orderly nature clashing with her excitement. "You always said it was only for when we got older." Ashley reached out, her fingers gently touching her daughter's face. "They felt colder than usual," Chloe registered. "Sometimes," Ashley said softly, a statement that sent a pang through the girls' chests. "We grow up a little faster than we expected." Zoe clapped her hands, dispelling the sudden gravity. "I'll get the water. It has to be cold, right?" "Yes, my love. Really nice and cold." As Zoe scampered to the fridge, Chloe remained by her mother's side, her watchful eyes memorizing every detail of her beloved face. The new worry lines, the way she would occasionally press a hand to her chest, as if something inside hurt. For nearly an hour, the kitchen transformed into a makeshift laboratory. Zoe insisted on taste-testing the mixture with every new ingredient, while Chloe carefully transcribed each step in her little notebook, despite barely knowing how to write. Ashley watched her daughters with a mixture of pride and unease. Zoe, barefoot with a dusting of sugar on her cheeks, waved her arms dramatically, insisting the lemonade was already perfect. Chloe, wearing an apron fashioned from an old t-shirt, argued that they needed to stir it more. When they were finally done, the midday sun streamed through the kitchen windows, casting golden patterns on the worn ceramic floor. The scent of fresh lemon filled the air, mingling with the sweet smell of sugar and something else, perhaps hope, perhaps determination. "Now it's perfect," Zoe declared after tasting the final cup, leaving a lemonade mustache on her upper lip. Her eyes shone with satisfaction. "Tastes just like Grandma's." Chloe, always more reserved, took a small, critical sip before nodding her approval. Her eyes, identical to her sister's, but carrying a weight no 5-year-old should, flicked anxiously back to their mother. Ashley tasted the lemonade, and for a fleeting moment, she was transported back to her own childhood afternoons. The flavor brought her back to her mother's backyard, where she had first learned this recipe at the same age as her daughters. Her own mother, healthy, strong, full of life, had patiently taught her the perfect balance of sweet and tart. "It's perfect, my little ones," she whispered, fighting back the tears that threatened to fall. The twins immediately began setting up their improvised stand. Chloe had saved an old plastic table for this very purpose. It was small, with one leg slightly shorter than the others, but it was perfect in their eyes. Zoe finished her sign, the bright, uneven letters proclaiming, "Special Lemonade, Grandma's Recipe." "We'll sell it right on the corner," Zoe announced, already running for the door, her tiny bare feet barely touching the ground in her excitement. "Wait," Chloe called out, trying to balance the pitcher of lemonade. "We have to organize it properly, and put on your shoes." Ashley stood in the kitchen doorway, torn between overwhelming pride and the guilt that was eating away at her. It shouldn't be like this, she thought. Her daughters should be playing with dolls, running in the park, enjoying the precious simplicity of childhood. They shouldn't be worried about money for medicine or know the weight of responsibility so soon. The first customer of the day was Mrs. Davis, the elderly neighbor from down the street. In the past few months, Ashley had noticed that she, too, coughed a lot, especially on damp mornings. The old woman stopped in front of the stand, her lined eyes filling with tears at the sight of the tiny salesladies. "How much for this wonderful drink?" asked Mrs. Davis, her voice thick with emotion. $2, Zoe announced proudly. "It's Grandma's secret recipe." "Grandma's recipe?" Mrs. Davis smiled, rummaging in her worn purse. She pulled out a 10 bill, THENI, LLTA, KETWOCUPS, BUTCHLOEBEGAN, ALREADYSEARCHANGFORCHANGEANTHESJARTHESMALLGLASSJARTHECHENGAMYDEARS, Sheromo KEPTHECHANGAMYDEARS, MRS, DAVISINSISTAD HERTREMBLINGHANDSTROKINGTHEGIRLSHAIRMOTHERMUSCHOFFIG WHISPERIFULLYPLACEDTHEMONEYINTHEJAR WHISPERIFULLYPLACEDTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERTHERT CYZ OEYSINFECTIOUSSMILEORC HLOERSIMPECCABLEORGANIZATION OTHERSWALKEDRIGHTBYAFEWOFFERINGISETOCOMEBACKLATER THEATWINSNEVERLOSTHERSWINVERT SOEYNVENTEEDINCRELEMONESWERENCHANTEDGARDEN CHLOEENSUREDEA CHLOEENSUREDEACCESAMELLRULERTOMEASURETIESUENBEGLEMONESWERENCHANTEDGARDEN THEYASMUC BUTTHERSMALLFACESGLOWEDWEDDICHECOUNTEDCOINS BICKINT, HEKIT, CHEN, THEYS, TORED, THEMONEYINANEMP, TYCOOKIETIN, BUHICHCHLOE, CHIA REFULLYHID, BEHIND, AST, ACKOFPOTSAND, PINS, ISHLEYWHOHAD, BEIN, JUHITCHINGEVEROMTHEDWINDOWILDIWINTIHEWITTIHERDEADYFORTHERBIATHERBIATHSBIFORESHESKID, THEITINFURTOY, THERHERTCHEARTC, ATTHETHOUG, THTOFTHECOUGHSYRUP, THATCOSTNEARLYTWOHUNDRED. SILENTTEARSSLI PPEDDOWNHERFACEASSHEPU TTHETINBACKWHERE CHLOEHADLEFTIT MOMMY CHLOESVOICTAMEFROM THEDOORWAY DONOTCRY TOMORROWELLSELLMORE ZOEYAPPERED IGHTBEHINDHERSISTER GRHARSTILLAMESSFROMTHED IRSADVENTURES ANDILLMAKENEWSIGNS WITHGLITSTERTHISTIME ASHLEYOPENEDHERARMS ANDHERLITTLEONESRANITOHEREMBRACE THESMALLOFLEMONST ILLCLUNG TOTHE IRSHIR BLEND INGWITHTHESBYT NESOFCHELDSORGYSSODSPRST LITORY NGDIO POROTIB KITI MYLI TELEDURIORS SHEDWITSPRAD KESSING TTHTOPSOFTHIRHERDS MYBRIA VLI TTLEDURIORS LATIR TSHANTINI GEXTI IFTR to CK1gatation Dawa ENS INTOBD ISHLEWRE TURNI DTOTSHK TKCHN HERLIFEGUARDUNIFORMS TILLHUNGINTHEHIGHCABINET ALONGWITHTHOTEMEDILOFHONORSHEREDEREKAIVEDWEARS AGO8RHANDSTREMBLEDISSHETOUCITEDTHEFAMILIARFABRIC IUSEDTOSAVEPEOPLE Yoseed SATEMURMUREDTOTHESILENTUNIFORM ANDNOWICANATEVENSAVIMYSELF THECOUGHRETURNED STRONGERTISTIME ANDSHEQUICKLYCO EREDHERMOUTHWITHANDKERCHIEF INNTHENEX TROOME HERD AUG HTERS SELEPT DREAMINGOFLEMONS ANDCOINS TOOINNOCENTTOFULLYGRASPTHEGRAVITYOFTHESITUATION YETIONIFORMWETTEUFIUNTBSCKINTOHIDING PUTTHEMEDALREMAINTETABLE INTHEDARKKITCHEN ITSSHINEFELTLIKEAPROMISEFROMTHEPASTERTHAT SAVINGLIV OMETIMESST RTSWITHSOMETHING ASSIMP LEASAGLASSOFLEMONADE ATTHEPENTHOUSEOFFICEOFTHES TRLIN GTOWER THETALLEST SKYSCRAPERIETTSCREPEROJECTIONEFERENCIERMENTRYINGTOIGNOREFORWEEKS THEWALLCKRE8915 AM to BUT THETENSIONINTHEROOMFELTLIKETHENDOFAVERYLONGDAY TOHISRIGHTROBE RTMILLERNERV OUSLYAD JUSTEDANAVYYBLUETIAETCHATSENEFERYINSTIANSMORNING EVERYINSTIANST SCREAMEDDANGER CONTAMINATIONLEVELSAREGALPERSIRAEXPLAINED THECOMPANYAS TECHNIC ALDIRECTOREAMIDDLE AGEDMANGESTURINGWITHALESERPOINTERTSINTHEPRESENTATION TECHNICALESCALABOUTOUROPERATIONS RICHARDRANHISFINGERSCARONHISRIGHTARM AGESTURETHATBECOMEANERVOUSTICOVERTHEYERS THEMARKHU ACONSTANTREMINDEROFTHEDAYALMOSTDROJUBNED SEEMEDTOTINGLEVERSOMETHINGDEEPLYUNSETTLEDHIM ANDTHESENSATIONSATISPARTICULARLYSTRONG TECHNICALETTED HEREPETTING LETTINGINTHEAIR CONDITIONEDROMLIKEASILENTACCUSATION dear EVANS THETCHNICALDIRECTOR HISEYESINSTINCTIVELYSEEKINGROBERTSSUPPORT THETCHEMANWHICHOALWYSKNEWYASTIWATIOEPIWIRYWYSKNEEDWJUSTWAYLWYSKINWYSITUATIONERDSWITHEP PINGINWHODESPEN Psalm would be THEISOLATEDINCIDENTSOFRESPIRATORYPLEMSIN THEBORHOBENSIONTIASOFRESPIRATORYPLEMSINTIASONENSICHARDSTOODUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABRUPABR A-T-L-Y Keen, C-U-T-T-I-N-G-T-H-E-P-R-E-S-E-N-T, A-T-I-O-N-S-H-O-R-T-H-I-S-S-I-L-H-O-U-E-T-T-E, T-H-R-O-W-N-O-N-T-H-E-W-A-L-L-B, Y-T-H-E-P-R-O-J-E-C-T-O-R-A-S-L-I-G-H-T, F-L-I-C-K-E-R-E-D-L-I-K-E-A-R-E-S-T-L-E-S-S-G-I-A-N-T, W-E-A-S-H-E-T-A-L-K-I-N-G-A-B-O-U-T-S-I-C-K-P-E-O-P-L-E, R-E-L-P-E-O-P-L-E, N-O-T-N-U-M-B-E-R-S-O-N-A-S-P-R-E-A-D-S-H-E-E-T, P-E-O-P-L-E-W-H-O-C-O-U-L-D, S-U-E-T-H-E-C-O-M-P-A-N-Y, R-O-B-E-R-T-A-D-D-E-D, H-E-S-P-R-O-F-E-S-S-I-O-N-A-L-T-O-N-E-M-A-S-K-I-N-G-T-H-E-C-O-L-D-N-E-S-S-O-F-T-H-E-W-O-R-D-S, B-U-T-D-O-N-A-T-W-I-T-H-T-S-I-O-R-T-O-F-S-I-T-U-A-T-I-O-N-D-I-S-C-R-E-E-T-L-Y-I-V-E-H-A-N-D-L-E-D-S-I-M-I-L-A-R-C-A-S-E-S-A-T-O-T-H-E-R-C-O-M-P-A-N-I-E-S, R-I-C-H-A-R-D-A-S-F-I-N-G-E-R-S-R-E-T-U-R-N-E-D-T-O-T-H-E-R-C-A-L-M-O-S-T-U-N-C-O-N-S-C-I-O-U-S-L-I. MEMORIESOF-COLD-WATEREAMTHESLIPSAWAYUPONWAKING, Heontianuthetpressent, Ation, H-E-O-R-D-E-R-E-D-S-I-T-T-I-N-G-D-O-W-N-A-G-A-I-N, I-W-A-N-T-A-L-L-T-H-E-D-A-T-A, N-E-O-T-J-U-S-T-W-H-A-T-M-A-K-E-S-U-S-E-O-O-K-G-O-O-D-N-E, A-N-D-C-A-N-S-O-M-E-O-N-E-O-P-E-N-T-H-O-S-E-C-U-R-T-E-A-I-N-S, I-T-L-O-O-K-S-L-I-K-E-A-F-U-N-E-R-A-L, P-A-R-L-O-R-I-N-H-E-R-E, R-O-B-E-R-T-S-I-G-N-A-L-E-D-T-O-O-P-A-N-T-H-E-R-R-I-E-D-T-O-P-A-N-T-H-E-A-G-A-B-Y, A-U-T-O-M-A-T-E-D-D-R-A-P-E-S-I-N-O-W-N-A-T-U-R-L-I-G, H-T-F-L-O-O-D-E-D-T-H-E-R-O-O-M, R-E-V-E-A-L-I-N-G-A-P-A-N-O-R-A-M-I-C-V, I-E-W-O-F-T-H-E-C-I-T, Y-S-T-R-E-T-C-H-I-N-G-T-O-T-H-E-H-O-R-I-Z-O-N, F-A-R-B-E-L-O-W-I, P-E-O-P-L-E-L-O-O-K-E-D-L-I-K-E-A-N-T-S, G-O-I-N-G, A-B-O-U-T-H-E-I-R-L-I-V-E-S, U-N-A-W-A-R-E-T-H-A-T-L-I-F-E, A-L-T-E-R-I-N-G-D-E-C-I-S-I-O-N-S-W-E-R-E-B-E-I-N-G-M-A-D-E-H-U-N-D-R-E-D-S-O-F-F-E-E-T-A-B-O-V-E-T-H-E-M, T-H-E-M-E-E-T-I-N-G-W-E-N-T-O-N-F-O-R-A-N-O, T-H-E-R-I-N-S-P, R-E-S-E-N-T-E-D-I-N-C-R-E-A-S-I-N-G-L-Y-C-O-M-P, L-E-X-S-L-I-D-E-S-E-O-N-P, T-R-Y-I-N-G-T, O-S-H-O-W-T-H-A-T-E-M-I-S-S-I-O-N-L-E, E-L-S-W-E-R-E-T-E-C-H-N-I-C-I-L-L-Y-A-C-C-I-P-P-T-A-B-L-E, OTHEREXECUTIVESJUMPEDINWITHCOST BENEFITANALYSES MARKETPROJECTIONS ANDFINANCIALIMPSCTSTUDIES TERMSLIKEDAMAGECONTROL YRISISMANAGEMENT ANDOUTOF COURTSETTLEMENTSFLOATEDAROUND LIKETOXICDUST ICHARDWATCCUTIVESTISCOMPENSATIONFICESUPPLIES WHENSOMEONESU GGESTEDOU TSOURCINGPARTOFTHEPRODUCTION TOSPREADOUTLIABILITY AGSSTOMACHTURNED ENOUGH HEFINALLYDECLAREDSTANDINGUPAGAIN PREPAREAFULLREPORTBYMONDAY ANDBYFULL IMEAN FULL and IUANTTOKNOWEXACT LYWHATWEREDUMPINGINTHATRIVERANGUPTHOSECHIMNEYSC THEROOMEMP TIEDQUICKLY EXECUTIVES CLUTCHING THERAPTOPSANDABLE TSLIKECORPORATESHIELDS ONLYROBERTREMAINED FOLLOWINGRICHRDINTOHISPRIVATOFFECEADJACENT TOTHECONFEROOM THEOFFICEWASASTUD YINCONT RASTS ONONESIDEMB SLEEK MOD ERNFURNIT UREAND HIGHBND TECHNOLOGI ONTHEOTHER PERSONALTOU CHESTHATHUMANIZEDTHESPACE ANOLDSOCCERBALLINAGLASSCASE BLACK AND WHITEPHOTOGRAPHSOFREMOTEPLACES AND AFRAMEDMEDAL HISFIRSTSWIMMING COMPETITIONWINTI BEFORETHEACCIDENT and RICHARD ROBERTSAID SHUTTING THEDOORWITHCALCULATEDCARE IHAVITOREMINDYOUPSHTA THECOMPANYISATACRITICALJUNCTURE OURIP OISSCHEDULEDFORNEXTQUARTER ANYANSTABILITYYCOULDCOMPAROMISEYARSOFWORK Canchiardino, STOPPA and Gene Friend of Sierra that went of Marabona Kitiprenda, Lakira Conusis Biordi, EV Removi and EDNG Paraki Kalkiwalationa. DOYO you cannot do it with my own white RSTHTFACT or SPOBNRU and NING, ROBERT, TBNTY, THREE, ROBERTAN, SWEREDPROMP, TLY. ITWASYOURF ATHER SFIRSTMAJORIN VSTMENT Summerbury BEFOREHEDIEDANDLEFTMEWITH COMPANYTORUNATWENTY TWORICHARDFINISHED DOYOUKNOWWHATHETOLDMEINTHEHOSPITAL ROBERT HISLASTWORDS ROBERTSAIDNOTAING OFCOURSEHEKNEWWTHESTORY ITWASIMPOSSIBLETOWORKSOCLOSELYWITHRICHARDFERSOLONGWITHCHARD FERSOLONGTHEGHOSTSTHAUNTADHIM DOTHERIGHTTTHING RICHARDQUOTED HISVOICETHICKW ITHANEM OTIONHERARELYSHOWED HEDIDNATSAYHGROWTHECOMPANY and ORMAXIMIZEPROFITS HESAID DOTHERIGHTTHING ANDYOUDID ROBERTARGUED STEPPINGFORWARDCAUTIOUSLY YOUTURNEDAMIDSIZECOMP ANYINTOACONGLOMERATE EMP LOYINGT HOUSANDS YOUCREATEDOP PORTUNITIESIA GENERATEDWEALTHDEVELOPEDNEWTECHNOLOGY ATWHATCOST ROBERT THEQUISTIONLINGEREDLIKESMOKE ROBERT ADJUST EDHIST IEAGAIN REVEALIN GHIST ISCOMFORT ALLPROGRESSHAS APRICE RICHARD YOUOFALLPEOPLESHOULDKNOWTHAT WHENYOUTOOKOVERTHECOMPANY WHENITOOKOVERTHECOMPANY RICAARDINTERRUPTED IPROMISEDMYSELFENISDDOTHINGSDIFFERENTLY THATWWOULDNDTBAJUSTANOTHERBUSINESSMANCHASINGPROFIT ANDNOWEREREHEREREHOWT DISCUSCING HOWT ODISCRETLYHANDLETHEFACTTHATPEOPLEARIGTSCAUSEOFUS ICHARDSHANDWNTBACKTOTHETSCARTHENGINSIFIED BRINGINGCONFUSINGFLASHESMEMORY ICYWEATERANPANICAFEMALEVOICEOSTRONGHAND SPULLINGHIMT HEOTHESURFACE SOMETIMESIWONDER ROBERT HEMURMURED MORETOHIMSELFT HANTOHISASSISTANT HOWHEVYSUCCESSREALLYIS SIR NOTHING RICHARDGRABBEDHISBLAZERFROMTHEBACKOFHISCHAIRES IMGOINGFORAWALKINEDTOTHINK BUTYOUHAVEAMETINGWITHEINVESTORSCHEDULE RESCHEDULE RICHARD THERESANURGENTENOTIENROBERT IUNDERSTANDYOURCONCERN BUTWEHAVETOBESTRATEGIC IFTHISSTORYLEAKSTOTHEPRESS THENWITHEIGHTYGITOWHIGHTWITHITHINGWITHITHINGWITHITHINGWITHITHINGWITHITHINGWITHITHINGWITHITHINGWITHITHINGWITHITHING THEPERFECTIME GEOFCORPORA TESU CCESS BUTHISEYES HISEYESEEMEDWEIGHEDDOWNBYALL THEDECISIONSTHATHADLEDHIMHERE STEPPINGOUTSIDA THECITIYAIRHITIHISFACELIKEASLAPOFREALISEDEW UOLKEDAIMLESSLY LETTIINGHISFEETGUIDEAYMLESSLYLETTITIINGFPLESSROMTHEBACKOFHISCHAIRES DSEENTHOSELFONTHESELITWWHEREIT THESAME OLORFULSIGNATHESAMETWINSONEFOC USED SOMETTHERYOURMAGICLEMONADEAGIN THEOTHERGIRL CHLOE LOOKEDUP FROMHERSMALLNOTEBOOK WHICHWASFILLE WITHNEATNOTESATHEREWASERIOUSNESSB EYONDHERYEARSETHATDEPLYUNSET TLEDHIM ITREMINDEDHIMOFHIMSELFAFTERHISF ATHERASDEATHFORCEDTOGROWPTOOFAST WHYMAGICAL HEASKEDSTOPPINGATTHEIRSTAND ZOEYFLASHEDABIGGRINWITHIMISSING FARONTTOOTHDBECAUSEITMAKESPEOPLEBETTER JUSTLIKEOURMOMMYWILLGETMONEYWFORHERMEDICISTIANERICIHERDFELTTERASSIC YOURMOTHECHERASSIC CHLOEANSWEREDHERVOICESOFT BUTSTEADY JUSTLIKEMRS DAVIS ANDTHELADYFROMAPARTMENT37 ANDTHEBAKERYGUY CHLOE ZOEYNU DGEDHER DON NEBTTALKABOUTOTHERPEOPLE REMMBER RICHARDFROWNED THISNEIGHBORHOOD OAKSTREET WASLESSTHANTWOMILESFROMHISMAINFACTORY THESAMEFACTORYATTHASMORNINGU SMEETING THESAMEFACTORYTHAT AKICORDIN GTOTHE THCHNIKALLYACCPTABLE REPORTS POSEDNORISK TOTHEKOMMUNIT HODMUCHHAVAYOUSAVEDSOFAR HEASKED TRYING OKEPHISTONECASUALWHILEHISMINDRACEDWITHIMP LICATIONS CHLOECHECKEDECHERLIT TLENOTEBOKWITHERSERIOUSNESSOFANACCOUNT FORTY BUTTHEMEDICINECOSTSALMOSTTWWOHUNDRED HOWMUCHISYOURLEMONADETODAY 10 Bill, then I'll take it Wookups. But Chloe began, already searching for change in the small girl asked Jarthe de brought along. Keep the change, my dears, Mrs. Davis insisted, her trembling hand stroking the girl's hair. Your mind mess so much for your mother at your agay. Zoe, spacely to pat the compliment, but it was Cloho carefully, placed them on einthajar, whispering ashy, thank you. The afternoon crawled by under the summer Sue, and some people stopped, drawn in by Zoe, Sinfectious Smiler Chloe, Simpeccable Organization. Others walked right by, a few offering a promise to come back later. The twins never lost heart. Zoe invented, increasingly elaborate étal, Sabuta Magicle Moneda, claiming Thelemons were sourced from an ants haunted garden. Chloe ensured the Achkup had the exact sameyamo und, using as mal ruler to mesure the liquid. Slevel, when the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades for Angie and Pink, they packed up their things. They hadn't sold as much as they doped, but their small faces glowed with pride as I counted the coins. Back in the kitchen, they stored the money in an empty cookie tin, which Chloe carefully hid behind a stack of put sandpans. Ashley, who had been watching everything from the window all day, waited until her daughters went to get ready for their baths before she checked that in. $43. Her heart clenched at the thought of the Kug syrup that cost nearly $200. Silent tears slipped down her face as she put that in back where Chloe had left it. "Mommy?" Chloe's voice came from the doorway. "Dawn to cry tomorrow. We'll sell more." Zoe appeared right behind, her sister, her hair still a mess from the day. Sad ventures. And all muckin' new signs, with glitter this time. Ashley opened her arms, and her little owners ran into her embrace. The smell of lemon still clung to their hair, blending with the sweetness of childhood it was so desperately trying to protect. "My little warriors," she whispered, kissing the tops of their heads. "My brave little warriors." Later that night, after tucking the twins into bed, Ashley returned to the kitchen. Her lifeguard uniform still hung in the high cabinet, along with the Medal of Honor she received years ago. Her hands trembled as she touched the family or fabric. "You said to save people," she murmured to the silent uniform. "And now we can even save myself." The cow returned, stronger this time, and she quickly covered Hermuth with a handkerchief. In the next room, her daughters slept, dreaming of lemons and coins, too innocent to fully grasp the gravity of the situation, yet too brave it to give up. The uniform went back into hiding, but the medal remained unthittable. In the dark kitchen, its shine felt like a promise from the past to the future, a reminder that saving lives sometimes star, so with something as simply as a glass of lemonade. At the penthouse office of the Sterling Tower are the tallest skyscraper in the city. Richard Sterling stared at the projection screen in his private conference room. Red numbers blinked like warning signals she'd been toying for weeks. The wall clock read 9:15 a.m., but the tension in the room felt like the end of every long day. To his right, Robert Miller nervously adjusted navy blue, a teeth that cost more than many factory worker earn a dime a month. In 20 years as an executive assistant, Robert had developed a sixth sense for Triblee, and this morning every instinct screamed danger. "Contamination levels are within legal parameters, sir," explained Dr. Evans, the company's technical director, a middle-aged man gesturing with Alistair Pointer Atco Mplex charts in the presentation. "Technically, there's nothing illegal about our operations." Richard ran his fingers over the Scarenheiser item, a gesture that had become an nervous tic over the years. The mark, a constant reminder of the day he almost drowned, seemed totingal whenever something deeply unsettled him, and that morning the sensation was particularly strong. "Technically," he repeated, letting the word hang in there, conditioned room like assailant accusation. "But in practice," Dr. Evans, the technical director, swallowed hard, his eyes instinctively seeking Robert S. support. That was how Sterling Industries worked. When questions got too tough, everyone looked at Robert Miller, the man who always knew just what to say total many situation. Robert cleared his throat, stepping in with the polished smoothness of someone who spent decades diffusing crises. The isolated incidents of respiratory prob limps in the neighborhood near the factory Vino proven connection tour operations, sir. Wake and argue that multiple environment alpha key tours. Argue? Richard stood up abruptly, cutting the presentation short. His silhouette, thrown on the wall by the projector, slight flickered like a restless giant. We re-talking about sick people? Robert, real people, not numbers on a spreadsheet. People who could sue the company, Robert added, his professional tone masking the coldness of the words. Button Tory, I have experience dealing with this sort of situation discreetly. I've handled similar Casasato their companies. Richard's fingers returned to the scar almost unconsciously. Memories of cold water flooding his lungs washed over him, along with the sensation of utter powerlessness. Then something else, something important that this mind kept Ed like a dream that slips away upon waking. Continue the presentation, he ordered, sitting down again. I want all the data, not just what makes us look good. And can someone open those curtains, please? It looks like a funeral parlor in here. Robert signaled, and one of the assistants hurried to pin the heavy, automated drapes. Now, natural light flooded the room, revealing a panoramic view of the city stretching to the horizon. Far below, people looked like ants going about, their levees, unaware that life. Altering decisions were being made hundreds of feet above them. The meeting went on for another hour. Dr. Evans presented. Increasingly complex leads, trying to show that emission levels were technically acceptable. Other executives jumped in with cost, benefit analyses, market projections, and financial impact studies. Terms like damage control, crisis management, and out-of-court settlements floated around like toxic dust. Richard watched his executives discuss compensation figures as if they were negotiating office supplies. When someone suggested outsourcing part of the production to spread out liability, his stomach turned. Enough, have finally declared, standing up again. Prepare a full report by Monday, and by full, I mean full. I want to know exactly what we were dumping in that river and what is going up those chimneys. The room emptied quickly, executives clutching their laptops and tablets like corporate shields. Only Robert remained, following Richard into his private office to ascend to the conference room. The office was a study in contrasts. On any side, sleek, modern furniture, and high-end technology. On the other, personal touches that humanized the space, an old soccer ball in a glass case, black and white photographs of remote places, and a framed medal. His first swimming competition win before the accident. Richard, Robert said, shutting the door with calculated care. I have it to remind you, the company sat a critical juncture. Our IPO scheduled for next quarter. Any instability could compromise years of work. Years of work, Richard echoed, stopping in front of the wall-sized window. Below, the city spread out like a chessboard, every move needing precise calculation. Do you know how many years that factory has been running, Robert? 23, Robert answered promptly. It was your father's first major investment. Before headed and left me with a company Toru, Nat 22, Richard finished. Do you know what it told me at the hospital, Robert? His last words. Robert said nothing. Of course, he knew the story. It was impossible to work so closely with Rick hard for so long without knowing the ghost hath haunted him. Do the right thing, Richard quoted, his voice thick with an emotion he rarely show wed. Headed say, growth a company, or maximize profits. He said, do the right thing. And you did, Robert argued, stepping forward cautiously. You turned a mid-sized company into a conglomerate employing thousands. You created opportunities, generated wealth, developed new technology. At what cost, Robert? The question lingered like smoke. Robert adjusted his tea again, revealing his discomfort. All progress has a price, Richard. You of all people should know that. When you took over the company, When I took over the company, Richard interrupted. I promised myself I'd do things differently. That he wouldn't to be just another businessman chasing profitee, and now we'd here discussing how to discreetly handle the fact that people are getting sick because of us. Richard Shand went back to the scar. Thiedingling intensified, bringing confusing flashes of memory, icy water, panic, of a male voice, strong hands pulling him to the surface. Sometimes I wonder, Robert, he murmured, more to himself than to his assistant, how heavy success really is. Sir, nothing. Richard grabbed his blazer from the back of his chair. I am going for a walk, de need to think. But you have a meeting with the Chinese investor scheduled for. Reschedule. Richard, there was an urgent note in Robert's voice now. He understand your concern, but we have to be strategic. If the story leaks to the press, then we better make sure we have nothing to hide, right? Without waiting for a reply, Richard walked out of the office. In the panoramic elevator, he caught this reflection in the glass. An impeccable suit, gray at the temples giving him a distinguished look at 45, a posture that radiated authority. The perfect image of corporate success. But his eyes seemed weighed down by all the desus ions that had led him here. Stepping outside, the city air hit his face like a slap off reality. Richard loosened his she walked aimless sly, letting his feet guide him away from the mere red skyscrapers of the business district. The contrast was stark. Just a few blocks away, luxury buildings gave way to more modest constructions, and upscale shops were replaced by small, local stores. Without realizing it, have found himself on the same street where he had seen those little lemonade sellers the day before. To his surprise, they were still there, the same makeshiftable, the same colorful sign, the same twins, one chatty, one focused. Something about them made him want to stop, to watch, to understand. Hey, there it guy, spack. The more talkative one, Zoe, here called, practically jumped, wenches a whim. Want to try your magic lemonade again? The other girl, Chloe, looked up from her small notebook, which was filled with neat notes. There was something in her gaze, a seriousness beyond her years, that deeply unsettled him. It reminded him of himself after his father's death, forced to grow up too fast. Why magical? Hesked, stopping at their stand. Zoe flashed a bigrin with a missing front tooth. Because it makes people better. Just like our mummy will get better when we save up money for her medicine. Richard felt this carting ligan more strongly this time. Your mother sick? She coughs a lot, Chloe answered, her voice soft but steady. Just like Mrs. Davis and the lady from apartment 37 and the bakery guy. Chloe, Zoe nudged here. Dawn to talk about other people, remember? Richard frowned. This neighborhood, Oak Street, was less than 2 miles from his main factory. The same factory at the heart of this morning G.'s meeting. The same factory that, according to the technically acceptable reports, posed no risk to the community. How much have you saved so far? Hesked, trying to keep his stony casual while his mind raced with implications. Chloe checked her little notebook with the seriousness of an accountant. $43, but the medicine cost almost $200. How much is your lemonade today? $2, Zoe replied promptly, going into sales mode. But if you want to take some home for your whole family, we can give you a discount. And if you buy 3, you get a decorated cup I drew myself. Richard took out his wallet, a fine Italian leather piece that probably cost more than all the furniture in the girl's home combined. The contrast made him hesitate for a moment, remembering his own childhood, not as privileged as many imagined. I'd like to buy all the lemonade you have. The twins' eyes widened in perfect sync. All of it? Zoe asked, incredulous. All of it, he confirmed, extending a few bills. and I'll be back tomorrow to buy more." As the girls hurried to serve the cups, Chloe insisting on measuring each one precisely while Zoe tried to speed things up, Richard noticed a man across the street. He looked around 30 and was taking pictures discreetly. He held a notepad bearing a local newspaper's logo. The scar on Richard's arm tingled more intensely, almost painfully now. Something was surfacing from the depths of his memory, something about being saved, about gratitude, about responsibility. That image of icy water, the panic, and then a young woman diving in after him, a lifeguard. The images were jumbled, like a puzzle with missing pieces. "Here you go, Mr. Rich Guy." Zoe held out the last cup, overflowing not just with lemonade, but with hope. "I drew something special on the cup, see? Here, it's a superhero saving everyone." Richard took the cup, decorated with childish drawings of smiling people. In the center, a figure with a cape flew over what looked like the city, scattering hearts everywhere. The drawing was simple but meaningful, a child's pure vision of what it means to make a difference in the world. "You know the coolest thing about superheroes?" Zoe continued with the unwavering innocence only children have. "They always do the right thing, even when it's hard." The words hit Richard like a punch in the gut. Do the right thing. His father's last words echoed in his mind, merging with Zoe's childlike voice. He sipped the lemonade slowly, savoring the perfect balance of sweet and tart. For a moment, the weight of success on his shoulders felt a bit lighter, as if this simple drink contained something more than water, sugar, and lemons, something like redemption. "Will you be here tomorrow?" he asked, already knowing the answer. "Every day," Zoe confirmed enthusiastically, "until we have enough money for Mommy's medicine." "And after that?" Richard asked, genuinely curious. Chloe looked up from her notebook for the first time since she'd started counting the money. "After that, we'll save to help Mrs. Davis, then the bakery guy, and then everyone who needs it," Zoe finished, nodding firmly. Richard felt something stir deep in his chest. Not the guilt from this morning's meeting or the burden of corporate decisions, but something more essential. Perhaps it was the memory of who he'd wanted to be when he took over his father's company, before numbers and spreadsheets started obscuring what truly mattered. "Here," he said, pulling a business card from his pocket and handing it to Chloe, recognizing her as the more responsible one. "If you need anything at all, call me." Chloe examined the card carefully, her eyes scanning each letter of Richard Sterling, President, Sterling Industries. She tucked it into the pocket of her makeshift apron as though it were a treasure. As he walked away from the lemonade stand, Richard noticed that the man with the camera was still there, now taking notes. For a moment, their eyes met, and Richard had the uneasy feeling that this wouldn't be their last encounter. Back at the office, he found Robert waiting with a stack of documents for him to sign. His assistant immediately started talking about the rescheduled meeting with the Chinese investors, but Richard barely listened. "Robert," he interrupted, "there's something I need you to do." "Of course, sir." "That report I asked for by Monday? I want it on my desk tomorrow morning. And one more thing, gather every piece of data on any reported health issues in the neighborhood near the factory for the past 5 years. Robert went pale. "Sir, I don't think that would be wise." "I'm not asking for your opinion, Robert. I'm giving you an order." Alone in his office, Richard stared out over the city through the panoramic window. The afternoon sun turned the skyscrapers into golden mirrors, creating an illusion of perfection that hid the shadows in the alleys and the stories behind every window. His hand found the scar on his arm again. The tingling sensation had diminished, but the memory of the water, and of being saved, remained clear. There was something crucial about that memory, something connected to the present in a way he still didn't fully understand. On his desk, a stack of documents awaited his attention: contracts, reports, expansion proposals. The empire he'd built demanded constant decisions, each one carrying weighty consequences. But at that moment, all Richard could think about was the bittersweet taste of lemonade and a child's innocent words about superheroes who always do the right thing. Jack Carter adjusted the focus on his camera, capturing the exact moment an elderly lady covered her mouth with a handkerchief, struggling through another coughing fit. Through the lens, he noticed the curtains in the neighboring house snap shut. The neighborhood residents were becoming increasingly wary of strangers. "So, Mrs. Davis," he lowered his camera, turning his attention to his notepad. "You said your problem started how long ago?" The older woman settled into the plastic chair on her porch, her tired face marked by deep shadows under her eyes. "Must be 2 years now. It started slowly, you know. A cough here, a shortness of breath there. We thought it was just old age." Jack jotted down more notes. In 2 weeks of investigation, he had identified a troubling pattern. Cases of respiratory illnesses in the neighborhood rose at the same rate Sterling Industries' factory increased production. "And Ashley," he asked, trying to keep his tone casual. "You know her well, right?" Mrs. Davis's eyes lit up momentarily. "Her? Ashley? That girl has a heart of gold. Even though she's sick herself, she still worries about everyone, and her daughters. Did you see the little ones selling lemonade? Just like their mom when she was their age." Jack smiled, recalling the twin girls he had photographed a few days before. "Did you know she used to be a lifeguard?" "Not used to be, son. She still is, in spirit, even though she's not on the job anymore. Some things never leave you." On the other side of town, in his office atop the Sterling Tower, Richard Sterling stared at an old photograph his private investigator had found. In it, a young woman in a lifeguard uniform smiled at the camera, holding a Medal of Honor. The date in the lower corner indicated it was taken 6 years earlier. "Are you sure it's her?" he asked the investigator, his hand unconsciously touching the scar on his arm. "Positively, sir. Ashley Thompson, 28 at the time. Worked as a lifeguard for 5 years before she took leave due to a high-risk pregnancy. Twins." Richard leaned back in his chair, fragmented memories swirling in his mind like puzzle pieces refusing to form a complete image. Icy water, panic, strong hands pulling him up. "I want everything on her," he ordered. "Recent medical history, financial situation, daily routine, and above all, why she lives so close to our factory." The investigator made a note. "Sir, there's something else you should know. She's not the only one with health problems in that area. I've found records of numerous similar cases in the neighborhood." Richard felt the scar tingle again. "Keep digging, and keep this to yourself for now." Meanwhile, in the Thompsons' small home, Zoe and Chloe were exploring the attic in search of more lemons Ashley kept in an old wooden box. Amid the dust and old boxes, Chloe found something that captured her attention. "Look," she called to her sister, holding a journal bound in faded blue leather. Zoe dropped the lemons she was holding and dashed over to see what Chloe had found. "What's that? Looks like Mommy's diary." Chloe blew the dust off the cover, revealing a date from 6 years ago. The sisters exchanged a look torn between curiosity and respect for their mother's privacy. Before they could decide what to do, a newspaper clipping slipped from between the pages, fluttering gently to the floor. Zoe grabbed it first. "Hey, it's the rich guy." The black and white photo showed a younger Richard Sterling, soaking wet and apparently unconscious, being carried by a woman in a lifeguard uniform. "That's Mother," they recognized immediately. "What are you two doing up here?" The twins turned, startled. Ashley stood in the doorway of the attic, one hand on the frame for balance, her eyes fixed on the diary and the clipping. "I'm sorry, Mommy," Chloe began, but Zoe interrupted. "Why didn't you ever tell us you saved the rich guy?" Ashley walked slowly over to her daughters, sitting carefully on an old wooden box. For a moment, she was silent, as though deciding what to say. "Some stories," she finally said, her voice husky from constant coughing. We keep not because they're secrets, but because it's hard to relive them. But you're a hero, Zoe protested, her eyes shining with admiration. Ashley smiled sadly. Being a hero isn't just about one big act, my love. Sometimes it's about small acts of courage, day after day. Chloe, who had been studying the photo closely, asked, "Is that why he bought all our lemonade?" He did what? The twins told her about Richard's visits to their stand, about how he always bought all the lemonade and promised to come back. Ashley listened in silence, her expression a complex mix of emotions. "Mommy," Chloe hesitated, "tell us how it happened." Ashley picked up the diary, her hands trembling. Its yellowed pages held not just memories, but newspaper clippings, photographs, and even the ribbon from the Medal of Honor she'd received for the rescue. It was a stormy morning, she began, her voice carrying the twins back to that day. The sea was rough, red flags all along the beach. Back in Richard's office, the phone rang. It was Robert, his assistant. "Sir, that journalist, he's asking more questions. I got access to some of what he's written, and, well, he knows about Ashley." Richard felt his stomach drop. "What do you mean he knows about Ashley?" "He found out about the rescue, and he's connecting the dots between the factory's location and the illnesses in the neighborhood." In the neighborhood, Jack continued his interview with Mrs. Davis. The elderly woman was now showing him old photos of the area. "See this tree here?" She pointed to a yellowed picture. "It died 2 years ago. People say the soil got contaminated, but nobody ever really looked into it." "Do you think it's connected to the factory?" Mrs. Davis coughed again before answering. "Look, son, we're not stupid. Before the factory ramped up production, nobody around here had these problems. Now, well, have you counted how many are sick on this street alone?" Jack checked his notes. The number was frightening. On this one street, there were 12 confirmed cases of chronic respiratory issues. "Ashley is the worst off," Mrs. Davis continued, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "She used to be strong as an ox when she worked as a lifeguard. Now she can barely climb the stairs without losing her breath." In the Thompsons' home, Ashley finished telling her daughters about the day of the rescue. Zoe clung to every word, while Chloe asked precise questions about specific details. "And he didn't even recognize you?" Zoe asked, incredulous. Ashley shook her head. "He was unconscious when I pulled him out of the water. By the time he woke up in the hospital, I was already gone. I never cared for public recognition." "But the medal?" Chloe pointed to the gold ribbon now resting on the diary. "The medal," Ashley smiled, picking it up carefully, "is just a symbol. Its real value is in what it represents, doing the right thing, even when it's hard." The girls exchanged a meaningful look, thinking of the lemonade they sold every day. At the Sterling Tower, Richard received another report from his investigator. Among the pages of data and graphs, one detail jumped out. Ashley had moved to that neighborhood exactly 3 months after the rescue. "Why?" he murmured to himself. "Why would someone move close to an industrial factory when she's pregnant?" The answer came in the form of a property deed attached to the report. The house had been purchased with money from a settlement, the same settlement Richard had insisted on paying after he was saved. The irony hit him like a punch. The money he'd given in gratitude had inadvertently placed his rescuer in the path of danger his own company was creating. In his notepad, Jack added yet another piece to the puzzle. His sources at the local hospital confirmed respiratory cases in the neighborhood had risen by 300% in the last 2 years. "And there's more," Mrs. Davis added, rummaging in her purse. "I saved this clipping when I saw you taking pictures of the girls the other day." She handed him an old newspaper excerpt, the same one the twins had found in Ashley's diary. Jack examined the photo of the rescue, his eyebrows rising in recognition. "Mrs. Davis," he said, his journalistic instincts telling him this story was bigger than he'd imagined. Are you saying the same person who saved Richard Sterling 6 years ago is now sick because of his factory?" The old woman nodded solemnly. "Ironic, isn't it? She saved his life, and now—" Jack carefully tucked the clipping away. His story had just gained a powerful new angle. At the Thompson home, Ashley put the diary back in its box. The girls, exhausted but satisfied by the story, helped her gather the clippings and photographs. "Mommy," Chloe asked in her small but determined voice, "why didn't you ever tell him?" Ashley looked out the attic window from which she could see the smokestacks of Sterling Industries in the distance. "Sometimes," she replied after a moment, "it's better to leave the past in the past." But the past, as Jack was about to prove, had other plans. The brown envelope on Richard's desk felt heavier than its actual contents. He'd been staring at it for 10 minutes, his hand occasionally touching the scar on his right arm, which was tingling with unusual intensity that morning. "Sir," his secretary's voice crackled through the intercom. "Investigator Ramirez is here." Richard took a deep breath. "Send him in." Carlos Ramirez entered the office with the discretion of a man used to working in shadows. Tall, thin, gray at the temples, he looked more like an accountant than a private investigator, a quality that probably contributed to his success. "I found her," Ramirez stated, getting right to the point as he sat in the chair opposite Richard's desk. "And, sir, you'll want to see this." Richard opened the envelope with trembling fingers. The first photograph made him catch his breath. It was definitely her, Ashley Thompson, in her lifeguard uniform, smiling at the camera while holding a Medal of Honor. The date in the bottom right read 6 years ago. "Keep going," Richard ordered, his voice huskier than usual. Ashley Thompson, currently 34 years old, worked as a lifeguard for 5 years at Central Beach, specialized in high-risk rescue with over 50 documented saves. Richard flipped through the documents as Ramirez spoke. Training certificates, newspaper clippings about past rescues, thank-you letters from people she had saved. "What's most interesting," Ramirez continued, "is what happened after that day." Richard stopped flipping the pages. He knew exactly which day Ramirez was talking about, the day that changed his life. As he looked at the photos, his once fuzzy memories started becoming clearer. It was a stormy morning, 6 years ago. The sea was furious that morning, red flags whipped violently along the beach, warning swimmers of the danger. Ashley Thompson scanned the waves from her lifeguard tower, her trained eyes spotting the treacherous currents forming. "Nobody should be out there today," she muttered to herself, adjusting the whistle around her neck. That's when she saw the man. He was swimming with powerful strokes and good technique, clearly an experienced swimmer, but he was headed straight for one of the most dangerous currents. Ashley raised her binoculars. He looked upset, swimming as if trying to exercise something within himself. "Hey!" she shouted, but her voice was swallowed by the wind. Within seconds, the situation deteriorated. The current caught him, and despite his skill, he started being dragged away. Ashley didn't hesitate. She grabbed her rescue buoy and dashed into the ocean. The water was freezing, far colder than usual for that time of year. The waves crashed fiercely, trying to drive her back to shore, but Ashley had years of experience fighting the sea. Every stroke was precise, calculated, her eyes locked on the man, now clearly struggling to stay afloat. "Hang on!" she shouted when she was only a few feet away. "I'm coming!" That was when a particularly large wave struck him, slamming him against an underwater rock formation. Ashley saw the exact moment his head collided with the stone and his body began to sink. Without a second thought, she dove. Underwater, visibility was terrible. Ashley swam, guided more by instinct and training than by sight. Her lungs burned, but she refused to surface for air. Every second counted. Finally, her hands found fabric. She pulled with all her might, hauling the unconscious body upward. When they broke the surface, she quickly checked. He wasn't breathing. The path back to the beach was a battle against time and the elements. Ashley swam using one arm, keeping his head above water with the other. The waves seemed determined to sweep them away, but her determination was stronger. A small crowd had gathered by the time they reached the sand. Ashley wasted no time. She immediately began CPR. "Come on," she murmured between compressions. "Come on, fight." During the mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, his eyes opened for a moment. Blue met blue, and something passed between them. A connection, a mutual recognition of souls that had faced death and come back. He began coughing violently, spewing salt water. Ashley turned him on his side, supporting his head as he gasped for air. "You're okay," she repeated softly. "You're okay now." The ambulance arrived minutes later. While paramedics treated him, Ashley noticed the deep gash on his right arm. He must have hit the rocks harder than she'd thought. "What's your name?" he asked weakly as they loaded him onto the stretcher. "Ashley," she replied. "Now rest." Reporters arrived, drawn by the commotion. Ashley recognized the man she'd saved. Richard Sterling, the young businessman who had recently lost his father. It would be headline news. The heir to an industrial empire nearly drowned. But Ashley was already walking back to her tower. When the head lifeguard urged her to give interviews, she politely refused. "I didn't do anything special," she said simply. "It's my job." In the present day, Richard placed the last document on the desk, his hands shaking slightly. The memories were crystal clear now. The cold of the water, the panic of drowning, and most importantly, those blue eyes that brought him back to life. "She refused all public recognition," Ramirez explained. "The Medal of Honor was awarded only because the mayor insisted on a private ceremony. 3 months later, she discovered she was pregnant with twins and left the job." Richard picked up the photo of Ashley with the medal again. He finally understood why those 2 little lemonade sellers affected him so deeply. They were the mirror image of their mother. "Where does she live?" he asked, even though he already knew. Ramirez hesitated momentarily. "Sir, are you sure you want to know?" "Where, Ramirez?" 237 Oak Street, 2 blocks from your factory," Richard completed, feeling a chest tightening he still couldn't fully explain. "I know." Once alone, Richard opened the bottom drawer of his desk. Inside was an old folder containing clippings from that day's news. He had never known the full name of the lifeguard who saved him. The articles only referred to the lifeguard who prefers to remain anonymous. The scar on his arm tingled more than ever. 6 years had passed, and only now did he discover he owed his life to Ashley Thompson, the mother of those 2 determined lemonade vendors, the woman who had refused fame or recognition, the silent hero who was now. Richard picked up the phone. "Robert, cancel all my appointments for tomorrow morning. I have an important visit to make." Oak Street looked different that morning. Richard Sterling's black Mercedes glided slowly over the uneven asphalt, out of place among the modest houses and older cars. Through the tinted windows, he searched for house numbers, his heart beat quickening as he neared 237. He parked at a discreet distance, not wanting to attract more attention than his car already did. On the passenger seat lay a folder containing all the documents Ramirez had gathered about Ashley. His palms were sweaty as he picked it up, the scar on his arm tingling like a silent alarm. The Thompsons' house was modest, but well cared for. A small front garden showed signs of regular tending, with flower beds that managed to thrive despite the local climate. The same old plastic table the twins used for lemonade sat folded by the wall, ready for the next day's sales. Richard hesitated before opening the gate. Behind the lace curtains in the front window, a subtle movement indicated that someone had spotted him. He inhaled deeply, adjusted his tie out of habit, and walked to the door. Before he could ring the bell, a shrill cry tore through the air. "It's the rich guy!" Zoe came running from somewhere in the yard, her hair in messy pigtails and a smile showcasing her missing tooth. Without hesitation, she flung her arms around Richard's legs in a spontaneous hug. "Zoe!" Chloe's voice sounded alarmed as she appeared with a small watering can still in her hand. Her eyes scanned Richard with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. Richard stood there, momentarily frozen, the folder slipping in his sweaty hands. There was something disarming about this simple, childlike show of affection that made his corporate worries feel distant and trivial. "Did you come to buy more lemonade?" Zoe asked, finally letting go of him. "We're not making any today because Mommy—" "Zoe!" The voice that interrupted the girl made Richard freeze. Ashley Thompson stood at the doorway, a hand discreetly braced on the frame for support. Even paler and thinner than in the photo from 6 years ago, her eyes still held that same intensity Richard remembered from that brief flash on the beach. "Mr. Sterling," she said, her voice raspy but steady. "What a surprise." The recognition was instant, mutual, and charged with an electricity that made the twins exchange curious glances. Chloe instinctively moved closer to her mother, while Zoe remained at Richard's side, looking back and forth between them as if watching a tennis match. "Ashley," Richard managed, his voice lower than usual, I've waited far too long to properly thank you." A coughing fit kept Ashley from answering right away. Chloe dashed inside and returned with a glass of water, gripping it too tightly in her small hands. Across the street, partially hidden behind a tree, Jack Carter focused his professional camera, capturing every moment of the encounter. His journalist instincts told him he was witnessing something important. "Come in," Ashley finally said after catching her breath. "It's not polite to leave a guest on the doorstep." The Thompsons' living room was small but welcoming. Photos of the twins at various ages lined the walls, along with seaside landscapes Ashley had taken during her lifeguard days. On a modest shelf, her Medal of Honor sat beside a framed photo of a beach at sunset. "Mommy," Zoe couldn't contain her excitement. "Tell him about the magical lemonade." "Zoe," Chloe tried to hush her with a meaningful glance. "It's all right," Ashley smiled faintly, settling into her favorite armchair. "Mr. Sterling has probably figured out by now that my daughters are very persistent salespeople." Richard remained standing, the folder clutched in his hands like an anchor to reality. "Please, call me Richard, and yes, they are quite extraordinary." "Just like you," Zoe declared proudly. "We found the pictures in the attic yesterday, the ones from the day you saved Mr. Richard." Ashley paled slightly, but maintained her composure. "Zoe, why don't you and your sister go make some lemonade for our guest?" "But," Zoe began to protest, only to have Chloe tug her hand insistently. "Come on," the more cautious twin insisted. "We still have to water the flowers in the backyard." When they were alone, the silence between the adults was almost palpable. Richard finally sat down, placing the folder carefully on the small coffee table. "You disappeared from the hospital," he began. "When I woke up, no one could tell me your full name." "I don't like attention," Ashley answered simply. Another coughing fit rattled her, stronger this time. Richard moved instinctively to help, but she raised a hand to stop him, pride and gratitude flickering in her eyes like clashing waves. "Why now?" she asked once she regained her composure. "Why after 6 years?" Richard opened the folder, revealing photographs and documents. "Because I just found out that the woman who saved my life is the mother of 2 little lemonade sellers who've been trying to buy you medicine." Ashley studied the documents without changing her expression. "You hired a private investigator." "Yes." "Why?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Outside, they could hear the twins chatting about the perfect amount of sugar for lemonade. "Because I needed to understand," Richard said after a pause. "I needed to understand why 2 5-year-olds are selling lemonade to buy medicine when their mother is the same person who didn't hesitate to dive into a raging sea to save a stranger." Ashley's eyes welled with tears she refused to let fall. "A lot can change in 6 years, Mr. Sterling." "Richard," he corrected gently. "Richard," she allowed. "What exactly do you want?" Before he could answer, the twins returned, carrying a tray of lemonade cups. Zoe, of course, nearly dropped everything in her rush, but Chloe managed to steady the tray at the last second. "We made this special," Zoe announced proudly, "with lemons from the tree Grandma planted." Richard accepted the cup, noticing how Chloe's hands trembled slightly as she served her mother. The more observant twin clearly sensed the tension in the air. "Mommy," Zoe settled on the arm of Ashley's chair, "tell him how the rescue happened. We loved hearing the story when we saw those pictures." Ashley and Richard exchanged a glance. He gave a small nod. "Well," Ashley began softly, "it was a stormy morning." As Ashley recounted the events of that day, Richard watched the twins' reactions. Zoe drank in every word with absolute awe, her eyes shining with admiration for her mother. Chloe, on the other hand, alternated her gaze between her mother and Richard, as if trying to piece together a complex puzzle. Across the street, Jack kept taking photos. Through his lens, he caught Ashley pausing her story to cough, Richard's instinctive movement to help, and the worry in the twins' eyes. The story was cut short by a commotion outside. Mrs. Davis, the elderly neighbor, was having one of her worst coughing fits. Her son supported her as she struggled to breathe. Chloe rushed to the window, her little face etched with concern. "It's just like you, Mommy," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. Richard noticed her words, his eyebrows knitting in thought. His phone buzzed in his pocket, likely Robert with another urgent factory update. "Ashley?" he began, but Zoe interrupted him. "You can help, right?" the girl asked, with the unfiltered innocence of a child. "You're rich, and rich people help others, don't they?" "Zoe," Chloe and Ashley said at the same time. "But it's true," Zoe insisted. "I dreamed last night that the rich man, Mr. Richard, helped everyone. He was like a superhero, only in a suit." Ashley covered her face with her hands, clearly embarrassed. "I'm so sorry," she mumbled. "Kids?" "No," Richard interrupted gently. "She's right. I can help. I want to help." "I don't need charity," Ashley responded automatically, her years of pride and independence shaping her reply. "It's not charity," Richard insisted. "It's giving back for something I never properly thanked you for." Another coughing fit shook Ashley, stronger than the last. Chloe was already dashing for water again, her small legs moving with the urgency of someone all too familiar with this routine. Outside, the activity was intensifying. Neighbors left their houses, drawn by the sight of the luxury car and swirling rumors of the rich man visiting the Thompsons' home. Jack seized the moment to interview some residents. Opinions were divided. Some saw Richard's presence as a beacon of hope, others eyed him with distrust. "Isn't he the guy who owns that factory?" one woman asked suspiciously. "But if he's here, maybe it's because he wants to help," another resident countered. Inside the house, the tension was palpable. Ashley sipped the water Chloe brought in small gulps, her hands trembling. Richard waited respectfully, his gaze drifting across the family photos on the wall. Snapshots of a life that he was beginning to see was far more complicated than he'd imagined. "Why didn't you ever look for help?" he finally asked. Ashley sat down the empty cup. "Some people," she answered after a moment, "would rather be the one helping than the one who needs help." Zoe, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly grabbed Richard's hand. "But Mommy always says being strong means knowing when to ask for help. That's what she said when I couldn't tie my shoes." Chloe, from the other side of the room, rolled her eyes at the simplicity of her sister's comparison. Yet there was a profound truth in Zoe's childlike logic. Richard felt his phone buzz once more. This time it was a text from Ramirez about the reporter, Jack's ongoing story. Time was running out. "Ashley," he tried again, "please let me help, not out of pity, not out of guilt, but because it's the right thing to do." The words echoed in the small living room. "The right thing," Ashley repeated softly, her eyes flicking to the metal on the shelf. Before she could reply, the wail of a siren cut through the air. An ambulance pulled up in front of Mrs. Davis's home. Her son waved frantically for the paramedics. Chloe clutched her sister's hand. Even Zoe, normally so talkative, fell silent as they watched through the window. Ashley rose with difficulty, walking over to see her friend and neighbor being loaded into the ambulance. Her face was even paler than before, and Richard noticed how she discreetly leaned on the furniture for support. "Mommy," Chloe said quietly, "you need to go to the doctor too." "Yes," Zoe agreed, tears glistening in her eyes. "Please." Richard stayed silent, recognizing this as a pivotal moment between mother and daughters. His phone vibrated yet again, likely Robert with more factory news. Ashley looked at her daughters, the medal on the shelf, then at Richard, and finally at the ambulance pulling away, siren blaring into the morning. She began, only to be interrupted by another coughing fit. This time, when Richard moved to help, she didn't stop him. The hospital corridor was quiet that Monday morning, save for the steady hum of medical monitors and the occasional hurried footsteps of the staff. Ashley Thompson stood at the window of room 304, gazing in at Mrs. Davis, who was fighting off a severe bout of pneumonia. "They said she'll be okay," Zoe whispered, holding her mother's hand. "Right, Mommy?" Ashley didn't answer immediately. Her own reflection in the glass startled her. Deep, dark circles under her eyes, a pronounced pallor, and the way her shoulders slumped slightly forward with each labored breath. Chloe sat in a chair in the corner of the room, quietly observant. Her little notebook rested open in her lap, but for the first time since they started selling lemonade, she wasn't scribbling numbers. The sound of confident footsteps announced Richard's arrival even before he appeared at the door. He'd been coming every day since Mrs. Davis was admitted, always at the same time, always with his leather portfolio. "How is she?" he asked softly, stopping beside Ashley. "Stable," Ashley replied, her voice hoarse. The doctor said if she had waited any longer. There was no need to finish the sentence. They all knew that delaying proper treatment had nearly cost Mrs. Davis her life. "Ashley," Richard began, but she was cut off by another coughing fit. Chloe jumped up to steady her mother, while Zoe offered a cup of water with a worried expression. "That's enough," Richard said, firmly but gently. "You need treatment, too." Ashley straightened her shoulders, ready to protest as she had been doing for days. But then her gaze fell on Mrs. Davis, unconscious in her hospital bed, tubes and monitors attesting to a stubbornness that almost ended tragically. "The girls," she started. "They can stay with me," Zoe exclaimed. "We can sell lemonade at your house. You have a huge kitchen. I saw it on TV." "Zoe," Chloe scolded, though her eyes betrayed a similar curiosity. Richard offered a small smile. "Actually, I've already taken care of it. I hired Mrs. Martinez to stay with them while you're in the hospital. She lives just 2 doors down from you, and the girls know her." Ashley looked at her daughters. Zoe practically bounced with excitement, while Chloe, ever guarded, revealed a small spark of hope in her eyes. "What about the lemonade stand?" Ashley asked, aware it was a weak final resistance. "We can keep it going," Zoe declared. "Now we'll raise money for Mrs. Davis, too." Chloe nodded solemnly. "And we can use the money we already saved to buy flowers for your hospital room, Mommy." Ashley felt the tears she'd been holding back for days finally slip free. Carefully, she knelt down to hug her daughters, gathering them in her arms with all the strength she could muster. "All right," she whispered. "I accept." The twins' reactions couldn't have been more different. Zoe jumped and clapped, already chattering about how to decorate her mother's hospital room, while Chloe silently hugged Ashley tighter, tears soaking her mother's shirt. Richard watched them with a lump in his throat, his hand unconsciously touching the scar on his arm. That was when he noticed some movement down the corridor, a man with a professional camera trying to snap photos through the slightly open door. "Excuse me," Richard said, stepping out into the hallway to follow the photographer to the elevator. "Mr. Sterling," Jack Carter turned around, his tone professional yet challenging. "May we talk?" Richard glanced back at the room where he could still see Ashley and the twins embracing. "My office, in 1 hour." In the luxurious top-floor office of the Sterling Tower, Robert Miller paced nervously while Richard looked out at the city through the panoramic window. "He has evidence, Richard," Robert warned. "Photos, statements, soil analysis. If this story breaks—" "What do you suggest?" Richard asked, though he already knew. "Leave it to me." Robert straightened his tie, a habitual gesture whenever he was about to propose something morally questionable. "I can make this story disappear. It wouldn't be the first time." "No," Richard cut in firmly. "No more making things disappear, Robert." The elevator chimed, announcing Jack's arrival. The journalist entered the office carrying a folder much thicker than Richard's usual portfolio. "Mr. Sterling," Jack started without preamble, "did you know that contamination levels in the soil around your factory are 3 times the legal limit?" Richard felt the scar tingle. "Show me." Jack spread documents, photos, and charts across the meeting table. Robert moved to intervene, but Richard held him back with a gesture. "Here," Jack pointed to a chart. "Cases of respiratory illness in the neighborhood skyrocketed exactly 2 years ago, the same time your factory boosted production." Richard examined the evidence in silence. His mind kept drifting to Ashley, the twins, Mrs. Davis, to all the people in that neighborhood who he was beginning to suspect were paying the price for his company's success. "And this," Jack continued, placing a photo on the table, "is especially interesting." It was a picture from the day of the rescue, a younger, healthier Ashley performing mouth-to-mouth on Richard next to a recent photo of her in the hospital visiting Mrs. Davis. "The woman who saved your life," Jack said gently, "is now dying because of your factory." The statement hit Richard like a punch to the gut. Robert immediately launched into legal talk about defamation and lawsuits, but his voice sounded distant. Richard turned back to the window, eyeing his factory's smokestacks in the distance. The smoke that once symbolized progress now appeared far more ominous. "When do you plan to publish?" he asked, not turning around. "Tomorrow," Jack replied. "Unless?" "Unless I shut the factory down, fire hundreds of employees?" "Unless you do the right thing," Jack corrected. "You know what needs to be done." Richard finally faced the journalist. "Yes, I do." Back at the hospital, Richard found Zoe and Chloe in the corridor, sharing a pack of cookies. "She's asleep," Chloe told him before he could ask. "The nurse said it's the new medicine." "You look sad," Zoe observed with the directness of children. "Want a cookie? It always cheers me up." Richard accepted the offered cookie, sitting between the twins on the hallway bench. For a moment, they said nothing, simply watching the hospital's comings and goings. "You know," he said at last, "sometimes we do wrong things without realizing it, and when we do realize, we need the courage to fix it." Zoe chewed her cookie thoughtfully. "Like when I broke Mommy's vase and blamed Chloe." "Zoe," Chloe complained, but a hint of a smile touched her lips. "Yeah," Richard chuckled softly. "Something like that." Through the slightly open door, he could see Ashley sleeping. The late afternoon light lit her face, giving her an almost ethereal glow. The same woman who hadn't hesitated to dive into a raging sea to save him now struggled for breath, partly because of something he, however indirectly, had caused. His phone buzzed, another urgent factory report. But for the first time in a long time, Richard knew exactly what he had to do. The decision, he realized, was not really about helping Ashley. It was about doing the right thing, even when it was difficult, even if it cost a lot, even if it meant facing painful truths about himself and the empire he had built. After all, as Zoe had told him days ago, superheroes always do the right thing, even when it's hard. Thursday morning started like any other in room 304 of St. Andrew's Hospital. Ashley Thompson was finishing her breakfast while Zoe drew bright, colorful flowers on posters to brighten the white walls. Chloe, as always, was focused on her notebook, this time logging her mother's medication schedule as meticulously as she used to track lemonade sales. The sound of hurried footsteps in the corridor was the first sign something was different. A nurse rushed by the door, carrying a newspaper under her arm. Then another, and another. "That's strange," Ashley said, noticing the unusual activity. Chloe looked up from her notes, her own trouble sensor kicking in. That's when Jack Carter appeared in the doorway, his expression a mixture of determination and concern. "Ashley," he said quietly, "you need to see this." He handed over a newspaper whose headline took up half the front page. "Industrial Empire Poisons Community. The lifeguard who saved a billionaire and is now dying because of his factory." The sound of the paper slipping from Ashley's trembling hands seemed to echo in the now silent room. "No!" Zoe was the first to react, scrambling to pick up the newspaper. "It can't be. Mr. Richard is our friend." Chloe was already at her sister's side, her eyes scanning the bold print. Her expression shifted from shock to a quiet understanding, like puzzle pieces finally snapping into place. "The charts," she murmured. "The dates? The factory ramped up production 2 years ago, and that's when Mommy started coughing," Zoe finished, her voice small and wounded. In the Sterling Tower, Richard Sterling stood before his office window, watching a growing crowd of protesters gather below. Their homemade signs demanded explanations, justice, compensation. Robert burst in without knocking, his normally composed face now marked by barely contained panic. "Richard, we need to do something. Stocks have dropped 15% since the market opened." "And how much?" Richard interrupted calmly. "Did you offer Jack to bury his story?" Robert paled. It was for the good of the company. I offered $500,000, but that idealistic idiot—" "Get out." "Excuse me?" Richard finally turned around, facing the man who had been his right hand for 2 decades. "You're fired, Robert, and when the board meets in an hour, I'm recommending a full investigation into every other discrete situation you've handled." "You can't do this. I built this company with you. Everything I did was to protect—" "Get out!" Richard's roar echoed off the office walls. "Before I call security." Meanwhile, in the hospital, room 304 had become a makeshift command center. Neighborhood residents came and went, sharing stories, comparing symptoms, organizing documents. Jack coordinated everything, noting down names, dates, and details. Ashley observed from her bed, still reeling from the enormity of the situation. The twins stayed on either side of her like tiny guards. "I should have seen it," Chloe said softly, almost as if talking to herself. "All the clues were there." "It's not your fault, sweetheart." Ashley embraced her. "No one noticed." "But did he know?" Zoe asked, her voice shaking. "Did Mr. Richard know he was hurting everybody?" Before anyone could answer, a stir in the hallway announced Richard's arrival. He paused at the door, his immaculate suit contrasting with the devastation on his face. "Everyone out," Ashley ordered, her voice firmer than it had been in days. "Except the girls." Jack seemed ready to protest, but something in Ashley's expression changed his mind. In minutes, the room was empty, but for Ashley, the twins, and Richard. "Why?" Ashley managed to ask, her voice strained with emotion. Richard walked slowly to the window, gazing at the city he had helped build, the same city that he now realized he had also harmed. "I didn't know," he began. "Not at first. When we expanded production, the reports all said we were within legal limits." That was technically true, Chloe interrupted, her small voice brimming with unexpected anger. Mommy is sick for real, not technically. Chloe, Ashley tried to calm her, but the little girl pressed on. Look at my notebook. She dashed to grab her notes. See? Mommy started coughing 2 weeks after the factory smoke got darker. Mrs. Davis's flowers died that same month. Mr. John's cat. Stop, Zoe begged, tears rolling down her cheeks. I don't want to hear any more. But it's true, Chloe insisted. You saw it too. You just didn't want to believe it because he bought our lemonade. Because he's helping Mommy. Because you wanted to believe in superheroes, Chloe finished, her voice softening. A heavy silence followed. Richard felt the weight of each word, each look of accusation from the children. The scar on his arm prickled, as if on fire. You're both right, he finally said. At first I didn't know, but when I started suspecting, I should have dug deeper. I should have asked more questions. You should have done the right thing, Ashley said, quoting Zoe's favorite phrase. Outside the hospital, the protest grew louder. Residents stood with signs, chanting slogans. News vans arrived, one after another. What are you going to do now? Ashley asked. Richard pulled an envelope from his suit pocket. This is my full confession. I've already sent copies to the police, the environmental agency, and my board. In an hour, I'll be announcing the temporary closure of the factory for a complete overhaul. But what about the jobs? Zoe asked, always worrying about others. All employees will keep their salaries during the shutdown, and, he hesitated, glancing at Ashley, I'm also creating a compensation fund for everyone affected, to cover medical treatment, environmental cleanup, whatever is needed. Why? Chloe asked. Why now? Richard stepped closer to Ashley's bed, maintaining a respectful distance. Because your mom taught me something 6 years ago when she dived into that raging sea to save me. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's doing the right thing in spite of it. Ashley picked up the fallen newspaper, which showed a photo of her and Richard on the day of the rescue beside a recent picture of the neighborhood with the factory in the background. You know what's ironic? She said softly. That day, I didn't hesitate before diving in. It didn't matter how dangerous it was, because it was the right thing to do. And now? Zoe asked, her voice small. Now, Richard answered, it's my turn to dive, not into stormy seas, but something maybe even scarier. The truth. Outside, news helicopters buzzed overhead, and the protesters grew in number. Jack coordinated a group of residents, setting up a class action lawsuit. Robert was leaving the Sterling Tower, carrying a box of personal items, ignoring the reporters who clamored for a statement. Are we still going to sell lemonade? Zoe suddenly asked. Chloe looked at her sister as if she'd lost her mind. Zoe, no. I'm serious, Zoe insisted. Now more than ever, people need help. We can use the money to help everyone who's sick, not just Mommy. Ashley felt tears in her eyes, not of sadness or anger, but of pride. Her daughters, each in her own way, displayed a wisdom beyond their years. Zoe's right, Chloe agreed after a moment of thought. But we'll need a bigger table and more lemons. And a new sign, Zoe added, excited again. Maybe lemonade of hope this time. Richard watched the twins, amazed by their ability to find light in the darkest moments. His phone vibrated constantly, no doubt panicking board members, angry shareholders, desperate PR teams. But at that moment, something far more important was happening in that hospital room. A lesson in forgiveness, responsibility, and starting over, taught by 2 5-year-olds who still believed in the power of a cup of lemonade to change the world. Ashley, Richard said quietly, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I promise I'm going to make this right. Not out of obligation, not out of guilt, but because it's the right thing to do, Chloe and Zoe said in unison. Ashley looked out the window where she could see the factory's smokestacks in the distance, the same smokestacks that had slowly poisoned her community. But she could also see people gathering below, united by a common purpose. Neighbors helping neighbors, strangers offering support, a community growing stronger through adversity. "You know what I learned as a lifeguard?" she said softly after a long pause. "Sometimes when someone's drowning, their instinct is to fight whoever's trying to help. Fear does that, but if you stay calm, if you show you really are there to help, they stop fighting. And only then can the real rescue begin," Richard finished, remembering that fleeting moment of connection during his own rescue. "Yes," Ashley nodded, "and only then can the real rescue begin." Zoe timidly reached for Richard's hand. "You can still be a superhero," she said with that childlike sincerity that melts any adult's defenses. "But you got to do it for real now, not just in my dreams." Chloe rolled her eyes, but a small smile played on her lips. "Superheroes aren't real, Zoe." "They are too," Zoe protested. "Mommy's one. She saved Mr. Richard, remember?" "Saving people is more complicated than that," Ashley interjected gently. "Sometimes it means diving into a raging sea. Sometimes it means admitting your mistakes and fixing them. And sometimes it means selling lemonade," Zoe declared proudly. The roar of another news helicopter filled the air. The crowd outside had grown. It was time. "I have to go," Richard said, straightening his tie. "There's a press conference waiting." "What are you going to say?" Chloe asked, her persistent skepticism tempered by a flicker of hope. Richard looked at each person in the room. Ashley, who had saved him twice now, Chloe, whose wisdom belied her age, Zoe, whose unwavering faith in people never wavered. "I'm going to tell the truth," he replied simply. "All of it." As Richard left, the twins ran to the window to watch him face the waiting throng of reporters and protesters. Zoe squeezed Chloe's hand. "He's going to do the right thing," she said with conviction. Chloe squeezed back. "This time, I think he really will." Ashley watched her daughters, feeling a tumult of emotions. Pain for all her community had suffered, anger at the negligence that caused it, but also a strange sense of hope. Because sometimes, as Zoe always said, real heroism begins with something as simple as a cup of lemonade. And sometimes, as Chloe wisely understood, the biggest changes happen when we stop fighting against the truth and start facing it head-on. Outside, Richard Sterling walked toward the microphones, ready for his own kind of dive into turbulent waters. The scar on his arm tingled, no longer just a reminder of guilt, but a call to action. It was time to do the right thing. The press conference that followed became part of the city's history. Richard Sterling, the powerful businessman, admitted every wrongdoing of his company, took personal responsibility, and announced a comprehensive plan of reform and reparations. Back in the hospital room, Ashley and the twins watched everything on TV. "Starting today," Richard's voice rang out clearly through the speakers, "Sterling Industries will begin the largest environmental restructuring this city has ever seen. The factory will be temporarily closed for a complete modernization. All employees will keep their jobs and salaries during this period." Zoe squeezed Chloe's hand as they watched. Ashley noticed how her daughters, so different in so many ways, were absolutely united at that moment. "In addition," Richard continued, "we are establishing a compensation fund for everyone affected. Full medical coverage, neighborhood environmental recovery, and support for families will be our top priorities." "He's doing what we do," Zoe squealed. "Helping everyone, not just one person." Chloe nodded silently, but a faint smile curved her lips. "Finally," Richard concluded, looking straight into the camera as if he could see right into room 304. "I want to say something to the woman who saved my life 6 years ago. Sometimes we have to drown in our own lies before we can be truly saved. Thank you for teaching me that. Twice." When the broadcast ended, the room fell silent for a moment. Zoe spoke first, as always. "Mommy, tomorrow can we make lemonade again? I think a lot of people need a glass of hope right now." Ashley hugged her daughters, feeling for the first time in a long while like she could breathe a bit easier. "Yes, my love. Tomorrow we'll make lots of lemonade." "And this time," Chloe added, already pulling out her notebook for calculations, "we'll need a much bigger table." Outside, the city began to absorb the day's revelations. The smoke from the Sterling factory was still visible in the distance, but now it felt different. Not just a threat, but a reminder that the greatest transformations often start with the most painful truths. And at a small plastic table in front of a modest home on Oak Street, 2 6-year-olds would go on trying to change the world, 1 cup of lemonade at a time. The old Sterling Industries boardroom had been repurposed. Gone was the imposing mahogany table, replaced by several smaller tables arranged in a circle. Where executives once discussed profits and goals, now neighborhood residents met to decide their own future. Ashley Thompson presided over the newly formed Community Health Committee, still wearing a small, portable oxygen mask. She led the discussions with the same resolve she once used to face the ocean waves. "The latest test results look promising," she said, pointing to graphs projected on the wall. "The new filtration technology has reduced emissions by 80% in the first 2 weeks." In one corner of the room, Zoe and Chloe had set up their now famous lemonade stand, decorated with photos of the community and colorful posters advertising a big charity event they were helping to organize. "We need more cups," Zoe whispered to her sister, eyeing the growing number of people entering the room. Chloe checked her trusted notebook, upgraded to a tablet these days. "Already ordered 1,000 more, biodegradable, just like Mr. Richard suggested." Change at Sterling Industries was not just for show. Richard had overhauled every aspect of the company, starting with its governance structure. A community board now had veto power over any decision that might impact public health or the environment. "The new respiratory treatment wing at the hospital is almost done," one committee member reported. "The compensation fund has already covered medical treatments for 87% of affected residents." Outside the building, huge machines were working to clean up the contaminated soil. It would be a long process, but the first signs of recovery were visible. Tiny wildflowers were beginning to sprout in areas that had seemed dead for months. "Look at that!" Zoe exclaimed, running to the window. "The flowers are coming back." Chloe followed, more cautiously, tablet in hand. "Right where we started treating the soil 3 weeks ago," she noted, ever precise in her records. The door to the room opened, and a wave of joy spread through the attendees. Mrs. Davis entered, leaning on a cane but smiling brightly. It was her first public appearance since being released from the hospital. "Mrs. Davis!" the twins cried, rushing to hug her. "My little entrepreneurs," she laughed, returning their affectionate greeting. "I came for my daily dose of magical lemonade." Ashley watched, tears gathering in her eyes. Seeing Mrs. Davis recovered, the flowers blooming again, the community united, these were small miracles accumulating one day at a time. Richard stepped in shortly after, carrying a folder of the latest environmental reports. Unlike his past imposing presence, he now dressed more casually and made sure to join in the community meetings personally. "Ms. Thompson," he greeted Ashley formally, respecting the distance she maintained. "The engineers finished testing the new filtration system. Would you like to review the results?" "Sure," Ashley nodded. "Zoe, Chloe, We'll handle the meeting," Zoe piped up immediately. "I already have the agenda organized." Chloe held up her tablet. The twins' growth was as remarkable as that of the community. Zoe was still the same burst of energy, but now she focused it on organizing community activities. Chloe remained meticulous, using her methodical nature to ensure every aspect of the recovery was documented and monitored. In an adjoining room, Ashley and Richard pored over the reports. The air between them was still taut, but different now, no longer brimming with anger or guilt, but the tension of two people learning to work together despite a complicated history. Contamination in the groundwater has dropped 60%, Richard pointed out on a chart. But it's still not enough. No, Ashley agreed, adjusting her oxygen mask. But it's a start. Back in the main room, the twins ran the final prep for the weekend's charity event. It would be a massive community celebration with music, food, and of course, lots of lemonade. "We could make a special lemonade in honor of Mrs. Clara," Zoe suggested, her eyes bright with creativity. "With honey and ginger," Chloe added pragmatically. "Good for the throat." Mrs. Davis, now head of the Senior Support Subcommittee, beamed at the idea. "You two are angels," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "You know, your lemonade kept me going in the hospital. Whenever I felt discouraged, I thought, if those little ones won't give up, neither will I." The meeting continued with various residents sharing stories of recovery and renewed hope. One older gentleman showed photos of his garden where plants were once again flourishing. A young mother reported that her son no longer needed an inhaler for the first time in months. Ashley took it all in with pride and gratitude. The community had not just survived the shock of the factory's wrongdoing. It had grown stronger because of it. "You know," she said quietly to Richard, still reviewing reports at her side, "sometimes I wonder if everything happened exactly as it had to." Richard looked up, surprised. "What do you mean?" "If the truth had come out any other way, at any other time, maybe we wouldn't have come together like this. Maybe we wouldn't have discovered our own strength." A shout from Zoe interrupted them. "Mommy, come see the poster Chloe made for the event." The poster was a collaborative masterpiece. Chloe had laid out the information with her trademark precision, while Zoe added bright colors and whimsical drawings. In the center was an illustration of two young girls serving lemonade to a line of smiling people. The Sterling factory in the background no longer spewing dark smoke, but blooming with flowers. "Renewal Festival," Ashley read the title out loud, "where sour lemons become sweet new beginnings." "Zoe came up with that phrase," Chloe explained, smiling proudly at her sister. "And Chloe made all the schedules and maps," Zoe added, hugging her twin. Richard watched the scene with a lump in his throat. The scar on his arm, that once torturous reminder, now felt like a symbol of transformation. "Ashley," he said gently, "there's something I'd like to show you and the girls if you're willing to come with me." The small group followed Richard to the rooftop of the building. From there, they could see the entire neighborhood, the factory, and the cleanup sites in progress. "Over there," he pointed to a plot of land near the factory, "is where we'll build the new community health center. And there," he gestured to another area, "we'll have the ecological park with native species and an environmental education lab." Zoe jumped up excitedly. "Can we set up our lemonade stand in the park?" "Actually," Richard grinned, "I was thinking bigger. How about a community cafe, run by local residents, with all profits going to social projects?" Chloe was already typing ideas into her tablet. "We can serve different kinds of lemonade and use local produce and—" Ashley watched her daughters plan their future, breathing in the afternoon air, clearing more every day. The oxygen mask on her face was a reminder of the past, but no longer a prison sentence. "Sometimes," she said, barely above a whisper, "redemption starts with something as simple as a cup of lemonade." From up there, overlooking the community reborn, it was impossible not to believe that sometimes happy endings begin exactly when we think all is lost. "Mommy," Zoe called suddenly, "look, a rainbow." Indeed, a rainbow arched across the sky, its colors stretching over the renovated factory like a promise that the darkest days had truly passed. Somewhere amid those colors and children's laughter, redemption found its true meaning, not in grand gestures, but in the sincerity of real change. Oak Street was buzzing with celebration on that special Sunday. Colorful streamers crisscrossed overhead, flowers adorned every corner, and the air was filled with the unmistakable scent of fresh lemons. It was the first anniversary of Renewal Day, as the community had named the date that changed everything. "Chloe, we need more ice," Zoe shouted, darting among the many lemonade stands that now formed a small charitable network. At 6 years old, she was still a ray of sunshine in perpetual motion. Without taking her eyes off her tablet, the modern version of her trusty old notebook, Chloe responded, "Already taken care of, and use the radio. I'm right here, no need to yell." What had started as a single stand had become a social enterprise. 10 stands dotted the neighborhood, each offering a unique version of the drink, all based on Grandma's original recipe. From the terrace of the new Environmental Health Foundation, Ashley Thompson watched her daughters with pride. As the executive director, she oversaw projects ranging from air quality monitoring to educational programs for local youth. "They've grown so much," Richard Sterling commented softly, stepping up beside her. Ashley smiled, noting how different he looked as well. The once perfect suits were gone, replaced by casual clothes, and his eyes held a calmness that hadn't been there before. "In every way," she said, instinctively touching her neck, where, until recently, she had always worn an oxygen mask. It had been 3 months since she needed it. The celebration filled the entire neighborhood. Mrs. Davis, fully recovered, led a circle dance with a group of children. The former factory site, now turned into an ecological park, hosted live music performances. "Time for the special ceremony," Zoe's voice crackled through the radio. A small crowd gathered by the time Ashley and Richard arrived. The twins were front and center, Zoe bouncing with excitement, while Chloe double-checked her lists. "Attention, everyone," Zoe spoke into the microphone. "A year ago, we started selling lemonade to help our mom. We had no idea that little stand would change more than just our lives." Chloe took the mic. "Today, everyone gets a cup of our original lemonade, the very recipe our mom taught us. But it's not just lemonade. Every cup represents a lesson we learned," Zoe jumped in. They began handing out cups, explaining their lessons. "I learned that sometimes people do bad things, but everyone deserves a second chance if they're really sorry," Zoe said. "And I learned that justice isn't just punishing someone who did wrong, but helping fix what was broken," Chloe added. Ashley felt tears welling up as she watched her daughters. Beside her, Richard looked equally moved. "One more thing," Zoe announced. "We want to do a special tribute." Chloe produced 2 ribbons, one gold like Ashley's rescue medal, and another green, symbolizing environmental renewal. "Mom," Chloe began, "you taught us that real courage means helping others, even when you yourself need help." "And Mr. Richard," Zoe continued, using her childhood nickname for him one last time, "you taught us it's never too late to fix a mistake." The community applauded as they handed over the ribbons. Mrs. Davis led a round of applause, and everyone raised their cups in a collective toast. The sunset bathed the sky in shades of pink and orange, a spectacle once hidden by the factory's smoke. Chloe oversaw a photo exhibit documenting the neighborhood before and after. In a quiet moment, Richard found the twins at their original lemonade stand, now preserved like a monument. "You know what's really cool?" Zoe asked, offering him a cup of the original lemonade. "What's that?" "That the story doesn't end here," Chloe answered, showing him her tablet. "Look how many other neighborhoods want to start their own projects." Ashley approached them, with Mrs. Davis by her side. "You've turned lemons into much more than lemonade," the older woman said. "You've turned tragedy into hope." The night ended with the twins' final surprise, an eco-friendly light show illuminating the sky. The last projection simply read, "Sometimes love tastes like lemonade." Richard glanced at the scar on his arm, the mark that had guided him through his own redemption. It no longer tingled. Now it was just a reminder that sometimes we have to lose ourselves to find the right path. Ashley watched her daughters, Zoe still bouncing with excitement, Chloe taking notes until the very end. They were so different, yet so complementary, one dreaming, the other planning, together unstoppable. Gradually the party wound down, but the sense of renewal lingered in the air. The lemonade stands would be disassembled, only to pop up again tomorrow, carrying on their mission of spreading hope, one cup at a time. Because in the end, all it took were two little girls with a simple idea, a handful of lemons, and an unwavering belief that doing the right thing, even if it comes late, is always the best path forward.